moss green. Groan, crackle, yell. The burning coals from the still living branches of homes of myrtle and laurel. They grieve for the death of the wood, and I silently cry with them. In this poem titled Arson, the unknown author is describing the deforestation and destruction of our world. We cut down trees, pretending that they are constantly being replenished enough to remain stable, but they're not. We throw things away, pretending to be unaware of where they're going. But we do know. And even worse, we recycle. What? Recycle bad? Yes. Unlike most people's beliefs, I want to prove that recycling is not the best we can do for our environment. To really be green, we'd reduce and reuse. To be clear, I don't think that recycling is actually a bad thing, but I do think that it's not the infallible solution that most people tend to think it is. A major reason why recycling isn't foolproof is because it uses tons of energy, literally. Once the paper, plastic, or whatever else gets to the recycling center, the conveyor belts, other parts of machines, and even the general heating and lighting of the buildings use a lot of electricity. Over 20,000 factories across the United States make over 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals that sometimes leak into our environment. And some of those gases are highly combustible, which can add to carbon emissions. Also, shipping to the recycling factory takes a lot of fuel, which releases tons of carbon into our air every day. Long-distance trucks can emit 400 pounds of carbon on just one trip. That's a lot of pollution considering we're talking about recycling here. Speaking of pollution, that's another deception of recycling. First, as I said, transportation of the recyclables, especially glass because of its weight, is costly. This transportation is what releases so much pollution into our air every day. Let's take a garbage truck, for example. It can weigh 25 tons. Any truck over 2.5 tons is legally permitted to emit as much pollution as a few dozen average cars. Unfortunately, some really emit as much pollution as 150 cars. In some states, trucks are the cause of 1/5 of all transportation-related air pollution. Also, every single electric device emits carbon at the source. Some electricity is created by a huge spinning wheel, which is powered by rising steam, which is created by coal. The pollution from fossil fuels are being pumped into our environment, even by recycling centers to help people recycle. Many people feel that they are being green just by recycling when they're really not. You may ask, what about all the paper we're saving? Well, the truth is that we're not saving paper. To really save it, we wouldn't be cutting it down in the first place. But that won't happen anytime soon unless we just use recycled paper and stop cutting down trees. Unfortunately, since our economy is so dependent on paper, plastic, and glass, it would fall apart without it. We need to limit what we use, though, so we are not as dependent. What would happen if we weren't allowed to cut down any trees or use electricity? The United States uses the most energy out of all countries, which is almost 8.5 tons of coal per person per year. If we really wanted to save our Earth from this man-made disaster, we would be reducing and reusing. Sure, recycling is much better than dumping in landfills, but if we reduce the amount of paper, plastic, and glass used, and reuse what we did use, then better results would be superb. We take so much for granted. If you went through a drive-thru and got your food in a bag, would you be wondering about what happens to it after you dispose of it? No, you'd be enjoying your Happy Meal thinking about how it's too good to be true. This earns us the world record for most pollution, municipally. We contribute to more of the waste than any country, and this is happening globally, even if not as dramatically. What you need to know, everyone, is that when you scold people for not recycling, don't just chide. Inform them about how they should really be using that paper, or that water bottle, or whatever it is. Reusing in order to reduce pollution in our air, water, and lands. But the big question is it worth it? I say that it's up to you. Try to get creative. Make a bag, some paper-link decorations, or even homemade paper. Blackle it. Try making a birdhouse out of old cups you would have thrown away otherwise. Think to yourselves, what else can I do to reduce? Or can I reuse this to make something new? You may not believe in global warming, and I respect your opinion, but I'm sure everyone here believes that pollution is unnatural and harmful for our home, Earth. So do the world a favor. Be aware of everything we waste. Don't be the cause of the lost green or the death of the wood.